Please.
Okay. Thank you, Marco, and thank you to all the organizers of this course for wanting me in the opening of this amazing course for young people interested in researching into epilepsy. I'm very pleased to be here and to have an opportunity to at least introduce you to a concept which is patient and public involvement in epilepsy research, which I think will be key in your future work. Let me also start by saying that I was very impressed hearing your presentations and becoming aware of how many amazing young people are out there preparing to engage in future and hopefully innovative epilepsy research, which the community I'm speaking on behalf of really needs. We really need innovative solution to better cope with epilepsy. So thank you for embracing this path and undertaking a big challenge. And we patients and patient representatives are here to also help you in this journey. So before I start sharing with you a little bit of what a patient and public involvement means, let me just tell you a short true story, though unrelated to epilepsy. And this is because I believe this story will let you understand why it is important to talk about patient involvement, even in a very technical epilepsy training, such as this one you're attending. A few years ago, I attended a scientific conference, and there a researcher, like many others, was presenting a new mouse model, a knockout mouse model for a disease due to mutations in a gene called PANC2, which causes a form of neurodegeneration with brain iron accumulation. As it happens more often than one can think, actually, this young researcher reported that her mouse model was perfectly normal. So during the coffee break, I was talking to this researcher when a mother came up to her and said, "Look, when I feed my daughter with very fatty, oily food, she gets much, much worse." So this statement planted a seed in the mind of the researcher, who went back to the lab with an idea in mind. She put her mice, knockout mice, on a ketogenic diet, and in just over a week, the animals began to show symptoms of the disease. The phenotype was unlocked. The rest is history that belongs to another field. But I really hope this story sets the stage for the concept that PPI, patient and public involvement in research, has many opportunities to offer. But let's get into more definitions, of course. And you may be aware that over the last decade, patient and public involvement has become a central feature of the healthcare system, with growing evidence of its positive impact on clinical research and increasing adoption by health authorities, regulators, HTA, and industry. And even if with a lower pace, also basic and preclinical research is starting to incorporating patient involvement in its practices. So what is it about? PPI in research is when research is carried out with or by members of the public rather than to about or for them. And there is evidence that when you do that, when you do PPI, you are able to better target what matters most to the patient. PPI, in other words, helps increase the value and the impact of research. Patients and members of the public, of the community, bring in an original, complementary perspective to individual research projects because of their lived experience with a particular condition or because they use healthcare services. And this provides researchers with, let's say, a more complete understanding of the condition being studied and can help generate more impactful research. Not surprisingly, public and private funders are placing increasing emphasis on patient involvement because they see it as a factor that can counterbalance the interests of industrial and academic stakeholders and to ensure that research monies are spent on research that is really of public benefit. Therefore, practices aiming at incorporating patients as research partners are expected to increase in the coming years significantly. So if the traditional health system could be represented as an inverted pyramid in which the patients occupied the smallest segment of the chain, the emerging health system puts the patient at the center. In this model, all actors contribute to the production of a health benefit, and the patient interacts with all of them independently and collaboratively. In very recent years, also this model has been kind of criticized, and a new approach is emerging in which the good, the benefit of the patient is central, the shared goal of all stakeholders, including the patient themselves who participate in its creation. It has to be said that this transformation that you see pictured very simply here occurred first and foremost as a result of a, let's say, push from the ground up, a push that throughout history has been initiated by disadvantaged communities with the aim of solving a common problem among the members of the community. And according to some sources, the origin of this phenomenon, so-called public involvement, is in the big movements of social activism, which started in the mid-800s when the first structured self-help groups were born on the initiative of immigrants in the United States to overcome the condition of isolation and the intolerance they suffered. In the 30s, Alcoholics Anonymous was formed, and between the 60s and the 50s, self-help organizations emerged for individuals with physical and mental health problems. Among the first most significant actions in this regard was that of the US-based Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, which is a patient-led foundation, which since 1960s has pursued active involvement, active collaboration with the pharmaceutical industry to the point of investing directly into the production of a drug, Calideco, which is now taken by a well-characterized subpopulation of people with cystic fibrosis. Then the women's health movement between the 70s and 80s, and the HIV/AIDS movement between the 80s and the 90s made enormous contributions to the consolidation of the patient involvement phenomenon. And with time, also federated organizations were created and consolidated, including IBE, bringing together disease groups and different associations and strengthening in this way their voice. The power of these, let's say, umbrella organizations, including IBE, that gathers a membership of 140 epilepsy organizations across the globe, is that they are able to really influence policy and legislation by virtue of their volume, of course. So following this transformation, we come to the present day with the where we see the emergence of new roles for the patient, the expert patient, who is one who knows the disease and can contribute his or her knowledge to the advancement of research, the patient leader of research projects, and even the patient entrepreneur, who's one who founds startups and companies and is able to develop and market products that are used by the patient community, which he or she is member of. This diagram summarizes the results of an analysis that was carried out years ago by in the US by the Clinical Trials Transformation Initiative, and they mapped all the many different actions that patients and their organizations can undertake along each step of the research and development continuum. And as you can see, patient organizations can help research in many ways by providing research funding, creating research tools such as preclinical models or research infrastructures like patient registry, by providing data, real-world evidence, by advocating and making communication and education, and even by enabling access to treatment. So I have to say that in our field, in the epilepsy field, there are a few patient experts who are really equipped to become real research partners, and very few researchers who are really aware and able to promote real patient involvement. This is the reality, and you can tell from the paucity of published evidence, but things are changing, and this is very important for you to understand. At IBE, we are creating a new knowledge hub, which will encompass an online training academy, which will be focused on empowering and equipping advocates with the knowledge, skills, and tools that they need to position the voice of people with epilepsy in research-relevant forums and processes. This platform will be also a central point for our own research studies and for disseminating the latest data in the field to our community in an understandable manner. The Knowledge Hub will also involve an online training through modules and workshops for researchers and clinicians interested in learning how to embrace and do patient involvement, how to bring patients into their research projects as equal partners. So this was a quick overview, and it took me longer than I was told I should have taken. But there will be so much more to say, and hopefully there will be a future time to talk about maybe the how-to. But if I have to leave you with one key message about patient involvement, this is, if you really want to participate in the opportunities that come from patient involvement, you have to become profoundly aware that patient involvement means working in partnership with people in the community you intend to benefit. Involvement means bringing patients into the research processes, ideally with an equal voice. It's about people talking to each other and sharing perspectives. And when this happens, if this happens, patient involvement can really help researchers like yourself to understand better all the things that they don't know and to give a boost to their research work. Thank you for listening, and enjoy this course.